The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. It made a very good impression when it came out onto the market, and the vast majority of reviewers only had positive things to say about its camera, especially with the improvements to color accuracy and low light performance. What I do wonder is though, how does it stand up against phones with a mission to throw in the best hardware like the Vivo X90 Pro Plus? Surely having a 1-inch sensor does make it easier to perform well, and the same can be said for the Xiaomi 12S Ultra when both share the same Sony IMX989 sensor. With the Huawei Mate 50 Pro also being a top candidate, the question is, has Samsung done enough work on its camera to shake things up in the Chinese market? Let the facts speak. Huawei starts off with, let's say, the most usable photo. The shadows are managed pretty well when compared to the others, and I'm definitely the most visible, so it will get 4 out of 4 points. Samsung and Vivo have both done well, just that the photos are darker, leading to the details slightly disappearing, leaving them with 3 out of 4 points. While Xiaomi's photo is definitely the most photogenic with nice and natural background blur thanks to a shallow depth of field, my face being blurry and the background being too bright will result in it getting 2 points out of 4. Next photo needs some focus on the details. Huawei once again done a very good job here with accurate colors and good detail. Vivo has very slightly less detail as Samsung's color accuracy is a little off. Xiaomi's photo is unfortunately too flat and darker than needed. Image number 3 is a pretty cool one with a bunch of colors, and every phone seems to have seen it differently. The S23 Ultra is gonna take full points here, with the Mate 50 Pro being very close but kind of warm, so only 3 points. Vivo's shadows and sharpness isn't appealing, so it only gets 2 points, while Xiaomi's photo is just too bright, leaving it with only 1 point out of 4. Next photo's theme is color management. Plenty to go around here for everyone, but Vivo is going to be number 1. Samsung is slightly too saturated while Huawei is slightly darker, so both will get 3 points each, as Xiaomi's photo is even darker and flatter than Huawei's, so only 2 points. The next image's results are also quite interesting, as the theme is white balance. The X90 Pro Plus has hit the nail on the head as the S23 Ultra got very close, but the photo isn't as natural. The 12S Ultra is dark, but still better off than the Mate 50 Pro because the photo is too blue. Number 6 goes to Samsung with the most amount of detail in the dark shadows, as Huawei gets 3 points for a close competition. Vivo has a slight bluish tone in the dark parts of its photo, and the same can be said for Xiaomi. Since both are still overall decent, they'll get 2 points out of 4. Image number 7, Samsung is hands down my favorite. Vivo has also done a good job, and I also really like the separation of the background and the foreground on Xiaomi's side. Huawei's photo is pretty yellow, making it lose points for white balance and color accuracy, so it only gets 1 out of 4. Last photo is a tie between the S23 Ultra and the Mate 50 Pro. The X90 Pro Plus just loses a point as my face looks a little bit tanned like I was on vacation, and once again, even though the separation is really nice, the photo is too bright and flat on Xiaomi's side. In the end, the winner is the new kid on the block, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. Vivo is second, Huawei is just 1 point behind Vivo, and Xiaomi is last, and even though it has great hardware, the software is just not good enough. For ultra-wide, I'm personally not surprised that Samsung got off to a good start because their flagships are known to perform better. Vivo's photo is too saturated, but it at least preserves the detail. Huawei's photo is decent but flat, and Xiaomi is unfortunately not good enough. The second image is the same performance for the Galaxy, a solid photo overall, especially in terms of color. The X90 Pro Plus and the Mate 50 Pro will get 3 points each, as the former actually has too much clarity and sharpness, and the latter is slightly dark. Xiaomi gets 2 points due to slight blur and a high amount of saturation. Number 3 will have Samsung and Vivo as my favorites. Huawei will get 3 out of 4 due to white balance, as Xiaomi will get 2 out of 4 points. The phones that get 4 out of 4 points will not change for the fourth image, as Xiaomi is going to get 3, while Huawei gets 2 because of the details being somewhat lost in the dark image. The last ultrawide has Samsung taking 4 points once again, in which has been a very solid ultrawide camera performance. Vivo and Huawei will both lose 1 point due to Vivo having again too much clarity and Huawei having a greenish outlook of the ground and the back. Xiaomi gets 1 point here as I'm blurry and look squished. All in all, the new kid on the block is keeping its foot on the pedal and is showing us that it isn't only about hype, with a solid performance from Vivo as well. Huawei and Xiaomi round out the standings as we have a surprise for you: high resolution photos. The good news is Samsung's 200 megapixel new sensor does perform. It's actually the only one that shows everything in detail without messing up, as Vivo and Xiaomi are kind of decent compared to Huawei. The same goes for the second photo, so Samsung wasn't kidding when they were pumping this 200 megapixel sensor in the media before the release. We'll do a huge separate video on this soon, so stay tuned as portrait mode is bound to be interesting. Vivo and Huawei start off with 4 points as Samsung follows closely with 3, and Xiaomi unfortunately gets 1 point as the standard is not high enough. The second image is going to see us giving full marks to Samsung and Huawei, as Vivo and Xiaomi also did a decent job, but they lost 1 point each in the process. Image number 3 goes to the Mate 50 Pro, with the S23 Ultra and the X90 Pro Plus both getting 3 points each. The 12S Ultra's photo is a bit too blurred and I'm not a huge fan of my skin color, so only 2 out of 4. Number 4 is actually going to see Vivo performing the best this time and getting 4 points. Both Samsung and Huawei were quite close in getting 3, as Xiaomi's photo looks kinda nice but also a bit artificial. Next up is a happy pose, and Vivo along with Huawei will be happy enough to get full marks here. Samsung loses out slightly as Xiaomi is once again mediocre when it comes to portrait photography. Image 6 sees Samsung taking the 4 points, as this time Vivo and Huawei are both following close behind with 3 out of 4 points each. Xiaomi continues to lag behind, getting 2 points. 7 was pretty funny, as even though none of them are great, Samsung still did a way better job than the others, getting 3 points. Xiaomi was average, taking home 2, while Vivo and Huawei will both barely get 1 point. Last portrait is 4 points each to Samsung and Vivo, with Huawei and Xiaomi getting 3 points as the former is slightly hazy and the latter has a bit of extra saturation. This one was too close for comfort and I can't really pick a winner here, because while the Galaxy won with 27 points, the Mate and the X90 got 26 points each. The only result for sure is that Xiaomi couldn't keep up and only managed 17 points. This won't always be the case though, because when it comes to videos, you never know what you're gonna get. Unfortunately, I'm still disappointed with the 12S Ultra. It usually takes videos that are directly comparable to iPhones, but we just didn't see that this time, which could be attributed to the weather. Vivo has done it here, as you can see more details on myself and my clothes, so 4 points to them as Xiaomi takes 3. Samsung also takes 3 with a slightly darker video, and Huawei gets 2 points because of issues with details in the shadows. The second video is going to be a hard one until I walk close by, and that's when we're going to be able to see the big differences between them. My jacket looks the best on the S23 Ultra, but my face looks better on the X90 Pro Plus. 3 points to each of them, as the other two will get 2 points each with slightly worse performances. Ultrawide video kind of made me a Samsung fan here. Vivo and Xiaomi are close with slight flaws, but Huawei can't pass either with the blue complexion of the video, so it will have to settle with just 2 points. What's next on the list is 8K. Samsung is the innovator here, as this is just a great 8K feature with stabilization and no cropping. 4 out of 4 points. You can see Vivo's footage slightly shaking, which is unfortunate, so they'll get 2 out of 4. The same thing goes for Xiaomi, and even though the footage is decent, the video isn't stabilized. Huawei doesn't have 8K, as it seems like they didn't think it's necessary for this phone, so I can't give out any points here. Overall, the Galaxy S23 Ultra keeps on going by taking video, as the Vivo X90 Pro Plus is a close second, with the Xiaomi 12S Ultra following close by. Now it's time to zoom. Here are the optical zooms for these devices. The 12S Ultra looks a little warm, but we'll see how much it affects the general performance in a bit. If you watched any of our previous videos, you've most likely seen this statue of an angel from time to time. The problem is, we had a problem with the Mate 50 Pro zoom, and this is not the first time, which is kind of frustrating. This becomes the most obvious at 10 times, where the Samsung flagship shines as usual with its 10 times telephoto lens. Even though there's quite a bit of noise, it looks like the 12S Ultra is a close second, as the Vivo flagship slightly falls behind it when the object is very far away, and this can be seen even easier the closer we go in, all the way up to 100 times zoom. Vivo will obviously take third over Huawei, and I'm curious if we will see the same traits in stabilization, as there are quite a few top contenders here. I do have an issue with the Mate 50 Pro's embedded stabilization, as it looks like the frame is sliding around me rather than rotating smoothly. When we turn on the active stabilization, Samsung looks to be the best here. Even though Xiaomi's flagship is stuttering, it's way more stable than the other two, so it will come after Samsung in the standings. It's no surprise that I really like the front cameras of Samsung flagships, though in the first photo, I have to say that the Vivo flagship has the most accurate colors and white balance, getting 4 points. Samsung and Huawei are very close though, getting 3 out of 4, as the 12S Ultra selfies are a no-no for me with that skin tone. 1 point. The second photo will see Samsung and Vivo getting 4 points each, and Huawei gets 3 due to slightly unnatural smoothing out of my skin. Xiaomi gets 2 points due to color correction, or rather the lack of it. First portrait selfie, it seems that Korean software prevails. All of them have serious edge detection errors, getting 1 point each. The last one has a nice view in the background as the X90 Pro Plus showcases the most accurate colors and skin tone once again. The S23 Ultra and the Mate 50 Pro both get 3 points, and the 12S Ultra only gets 1 point. The issues with the Xiaomi flagship's front camera persist when it comes to videos, but Vivo's flagship catches my attention with a video so crisp and clear, it looks like it could have been taken with the main rear camera. The Samsung and Huawei flagships follow close by, with the Xiaomi flagship not doing as good as it should be, continuing its disappointing run.
What up guys, audio test time. Looking at the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra with the global Snapdragon version, and we're putting it up against 3 of the best Chinese phones in the form of the Vivo X90 Pro Plus. It's definitely a powerhouse with some of the best hardware ever to be put in a phone. And this is the Huawei Mate 50 Pro. As you know, Huawei had some struggles in the past, but they're still going at it strong with this brand new flagship phone. And over here is the Xiaomi 12S Ultra. We're really looking forward to the 13, but the 12 has also been very impressive in all the comparisons that we've done so far.
I can promise you guys, I'm not touching anything when I record this footage. Samsung really needs to find a solution for their noise cancelling, as this isn't good enough when recording outside. The Vivo and Huawei flagships are the best, as the former is clear while the latter has the best noise cancelling. Xiaomi is still better than Samsung though, so at least they have that going for them. Meanwhile, slow motion is my favorite category whenever we have the Xiaomi 12S Ultra. Not only does it have 480 FPS at 1080p, which most phones don't have, it doesn't stop there and allows you to shoot at 3,840 frames at 720p. The S23 Ultra is not too far behind with 960 frames at 1080p, which is also cool, and the X90 Pro Plus can do 480 frames at 720p, giving you plenty of options. With regard to macro, the Galaxy is a step ahead of the others. The Mate gets the closest to its performance, as the X90 Pro Plus is behind both of them, but Xiaomi is pretty much in last place with a mediocre macro mode, as the last category is night photos and footage. Huawei starts off with 4 points, as the other 3 have a blue tone around the snowy parts of the frame, but are still overall decent, so they get 2 out of 4 points each. The second photo was a close one between Vivo and Huawei, but the former's photo was slightly brighter and more visible. Xiaomi's photo is mediocre, but Samsung's photo is just a mess, which is kind of unexpected. Next one has the X90 Pro Plus being slightly ahead of the Mate 50 Pro, but both photos give off the vibe that it was actually nighttime. The 12S Ultra has great separation with that natural blur, but that same blur affected the head for some reason, so only 2 points. The S23 Ultra's foreground and background is too bright and kind of squished, giving it only 1 point. Photo number 4 sees the Vivo flagship scoring another 4 points with a clear and concise image. Don't forget to pay attention to the lamp as well. Huawei and Xiaomi follow close by with 3 points each, as Samsung unfortunately gets only 2 points here, as even though it controlled the streetlights pretty well, the wall on the left and the ground turned out somewhat blurry. The last wide photo has Samsung bouncing back alongside Vivo, with Xiaomi pulling out a decent image, but the same can't be said for Huawei, as the photo is very warm, leaving it with only 1 point. Ultrawide will be a completely different story though, as the S23 Ultra is stepping up. The X90 Pro Plus is close by, as the 12S Ultra gets 2 and the Mate 50 Pro gets 1 point. Same standing starting off with the second ultrawide image, and it will go from left to right with 4 points to Samsung, 3 to Vivo, 2 to Huawei, and 1 to Xiaomi. Last one is a hard angle for the software, so while the S23 Ultra does a pretty good job, I can't really say the same for the others. Vivo has more detail than Xiaomi, but the image is too yellow, while the Huawei is quite blurred, leaving it with only 1 point. We also think it's pretty obvious that the X90 Pro Plus night videos look better with less noise and more clarity. It also does a good job of controlling the lights. Second place is the S23 Ultra with 3 points, third is the 12S Ultra with 2, and the Mate 50 Pro is too dark and shaky, so only 1 point. For ultrawide, Samsung and Vivo will switch places. Huawei is pretty dark as usual, but still better than Xiaomi, as the camera is focusing in and out, not to mention the footage being blurry. Well, the battle of the top phones in Asia has come to an end, with the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra taking the photo, ultrawide, high resolution, portrait, video, zoom, stabilization, and being tied for the front camera with the Vivo X90 Pro Plus. Jesus Christ, audio goes the way of Vivo and Huawei, slow motion is taken by Xiaomi, and macro swings it back to Samsung. Vivo is, in our opinion, the phone that performs the best at night, and I'm sure that huge sensor helps out a lot. So, in my opinion, the S23 Ultra with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is looking amazing, miles ahead of the S22 Ultra with the Exynos chipset. Do you guys think the same? If so, or if not, leave a comment telling us your thoughts. Drop a like and subscribe if you want to keep in touch with our never-ending tech comparisons, and I'll see you guys in the next video.